All right, welcome to this review for Mountain Man by Vardis Fisher. Now, this book was published in 1965, and it was the inspiration, or one of the sources of inspiration, for the 1972 Sidney Pollack film, Jeremiah Johnson, starring Robert Redford. In fact, it says so right on the back cover. And that's the reason why I read this book, why I was interested in it to begin with, because I am a fan of the film. You see the opening credits of the film as it's playing, the song that opens the movie. Jeremiah Johnson went up into the mountains, betting on forgetting all the troubles here below. It shows that the sources that were used for the movie were this book and another book called Crow Killer: The Life of Liver Eating Johnson. Now, the opening, there's a note to the readers that Vardis Fisher writes here, and he says that our main character here, Sam, in fact, there's another character named Kate Bowden, but readers familiar with the history of the American West will be aware that Sam and Kate are drawn in some degree from John Johnston, the Crow Killer, and Jane Morgan, whose family was slaughtered on the Muscle Shell. Though these two persons actually live, they are today almost completely lost in legend. So, if you've seen the Robert Redford film, and you think, well, I've seen the movie, why would I want to read the book? The book is almost nothing like the film. There are a few scenes in the novel that I go, oh yeah, they use that in the movie, right? Like when John Milius wrote his script, there's a few things from the novel that make it in there, but for the most part, the book is completely different. Okay. Now, the principal area and the time that this has taken place. So, this book is set in 1846 and 1847, at least initially at the beginning. I don't know. One of the criticisms I would have of the book, I'm not exactly sure what time frame we're talking about this story taking place. It could be over a period of a couple of years, or it could be like 10 years, it could be 20 years. Um, Not exactly sure. I do think just from some of the clues that are dropped in the book, because at initially at the beginning we get told that it's 1846 when we're introduced to our main character, Samson Minard, not Jeremiah Johnson. His name's Samson. Everybody calls him Sam. But like the biblical character of Samson, this is a big dude, very strong, very powerfully muscular. He's pretty darn tall too. But he can break a man's neck like with one hand as easily as you would like twist a chicken's head off, right? Like he's strong. So yeah, I don't know the time frame. It does seem like towards the end of the book, when we're meeting some of the other mountain men, that they're talking, saying that they are pretty sure that there's going to be a war between the states. So that would put the ending of the novel somewhere around 1860, right? 1861. But that's just a guess because it doesn't spell it out for you. But this is kind of grouped into historical fiction because Sam Minard here is he does run into other people, mountain men, right? Some of the characters that he interacts with are actual historical figures, such as Jim Bridger and Kit Carson. Like they pop up in the novel. They talk about Hugh Glass, okay? So, in case you don't know who Hugh Glass is, there was a book called what was it, The Revenant, right? Which was turned into a movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio. The book is excellent. If you have not read that book, I did a review for it. That's about a mountain man as well. But I would say I think that this book surpasses that book, at least in my opinion. I don't know why this is not more well known. When you're talking about like top westerns of all time, I've never seen this on a top westerns list. In my opinion, it's a tragedy and it deserves to be there. So right off the bat, I'm going to say this is a thumbs up for me. I really enjoyed this. 351 pages. I read this book in a couple of days because I literally could not put it down. I will kind of just give you a caveat, okay, about this is time period appropriate language. So if you're somebody that is turned off by the language used in Gone with the Wind or is used in a book like The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, then you probably don't want to read this. Okay. And that's all I'm going to say about it because the depictions that are listed here, they're not going to be politically correct by today's standards. And maybe that's the reason why this book, nobody talks about this book. The subtitle here is a novel of male and female in the early American West. From what I can gather, Vardis Fisher was kind of a controversial writer in his day because he focuses on things that are kind of taboo that you're not supposed to talk about, like sexuality. Talking about that in the time frame that he was writing, because again, he died in 1968. Um, that was kind of like a no-no. Talking about a time when like you couldn't show women's belly buttons on television, right? Like it just, yeah, couldn't do that. So the first section of the book, I'm not going to talk about the first section. Let's just talk about the introductory kind of paragraph or the introductory chapter. Our boy here, Sam, he's 27 years old, by the way. He's fully formed. So unlike the movie Jeremiah Johnson, where it shows him as a greenhorn, he's already a mountain man. He comes across a grizzly bear that is fighting with a badger that's like stuck its head down in a hole. We get a lot of descriptions of wildlife, a lot of descriptions of terrain, and it's fantastic. So that's kind of the opening. And then in chapter 2, we get introduced to Kate Bowden and her family, where she witnesses her family get attacked by Blackfeet Indians and they get slaughtered. And she does some slaughtering of her own. And essentially, she is catatonic. For the rest of the novel, she's mute and she doesn't speak or interact with anybody else. And you really find yourself, at least I did, pulling for her because she is such an important character in the story. Um, and Sam, he comes up on her like right after this has happened and helps her out. But she's like gone. She just experienced some horrible trauma and basically just her mind snapped. So you kind of like get attached to her as Sam does. And this book just took me by surprise because it's like it's got this beautiful prose, beautiful descriptions of scenery, beautiful descriptions of wildlife. Sam is a very likable character, at least initially. Okay, he plays a harmonica. He must be some kind of man of culture, although we don't get a whole lot of his background. But he plays like Mozart and um, other classical pieces of music on his harmonica. He likes to sing. He sings hymns. He does have some sort of belief in God, you know, but he doesn't practice organized religion. Like he doesn't go to church and everything. So I think maybe a lot of like Vardis Fisher's own personal struggles are coming through in this novel. And the fact that Vardis Fisher left the Mormon church and our character here, Sam, doesn't practice like organized religion. There is some kind of like critique of Mormonism as well, because several of the characters in this novel do talk about Brigham Young and Joseph Smith that are moving into Utah as this novel's taking place in 1846 and 47. Sam interacts with various Indian tribes, principally the Blackfoot Indians and the Crow, and he takes a bride, okay, from the Flatheads when he goes over into Idaho. And that's the first section of the book is called Lotus. It's kind of like a love story. That's his bride's name. And then once you get to the end of section 1, the book really takes a turn. And it kind of turns into like Rambo First Blood Part 2, cowboy style or mountain man style. So if you don't like depictions of violence that involve scalping, decapitations, heads being stuffed on pikes, um, yeah, probably stay away from this one. Pretty rough. It's beautiful and brutal simultaneously. Although it does have something of a redemption arc in it. But you really have to get like way, way, way to the end of the book to like the concluding chapters in order for Sam to like fully develop as a character. So there is a character arc here, and the whole book is narrated in third person omniscient. But I loved it. I couldn't put it down. Finished it in a couple of days. You know, very immersive. You get vivid descriptions of everything that Sam is cooking for his breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Probably turned some people off, but I really enjoyed it. I really felt like I was, invested in like living in Sam's world. So this is a big recommend for me. It is a fine Western and it deserves to be more well known than it is. So if you're into Westerns, check this one out. It's a little bit unconventional, like I said, because of the time period that it's set in, but I loved it. That concludes this review. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.